Hello, my dears. I am Francisca. I am 78 years young, and today I want to share with you the story that completely transformed my life. But before I begin, I'd love to know where you are watching from. Please leave a comment below telling me your city. If you enjoy real-life stories that teach us about courage and resilience. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Now, let us travel back to 1972. I was just 25 years old and believed I was living a perfect married life. I was born in a small, quaint town in the countryside of Minas Gerais, where young girls were raised with the expectation of becoming good wives and mothers. My parents were humble, hard-working people. My father labored in the fields, and my mother dedicated herself to our home and her 5 children. As the second oldest, I was always the dreamer of the family. While my sisters played with dolls, my mind would wander, picturing life in a big city, having my own home, and perhaps even working in an office. But in those days, girls like me rarely advanced beyond elementary school. I met Antonio when I was 18 during our town's patron saint festival. He was 27, wore a crisply ironed suit, and worked as a traveling salesman for a company based in São Paulo. To me, Antonio seemed like he had stepped right out of a movie, handsome, polite, and full of captivating stories about the capital. Compared to the local boys, he was the picture of sophistication and ambition. My father was skeptical at first, warning me that traveling men weren't always trustworthy. But Antonio's charms soon won over my entire family. We courted for 10 months, always under the watchful eye of my mother or aunts. Those were months of passionate letters exchanged during his trips and the small, exotic gifts he would bring back. I vividly remember a red lipstick he gave me, the first I ever owned. My mother, of course, forbade me from wearing it, but I would secretly put it on when I was alone in my room. We married in March 1965 in a simple ceremony at the local parish church. I wore a white dress that my mother and I had sewn together, and Antonio looked so elegant in his navy blue suit. I can still recall the sweet scent of the orange blossoms decorating the altar and the overwhelming feeling that my life was finally beginning. 2 weeks later, we moved to a small house on the outskirts of São Paulo. The first few years felt like a dream. His job still required frequent travel, but he always returned with fascinating stories and little presents. We settled into a routine that felt perfect to me. He would leave on Mondays and return on Thursdays or Fridays. Our weekends were filled with cinema visits, park outings, or simply staying at home where I would cook special recipes to impress him. 2 years into our marriage, we welcomed our first child, Miguel, and soon after, our daughter, Clara. I dedicated myself entirely to our children and our home, while Antonio worked tirelessly to provide for us. He was a good father when he was present, bringing toys, playing with the children, and telling them bedtime stories. As the years passed, his trips grew longer, but I understood he was building his career and securing our future. Our social life revolved mainly around Antonio's colleagues and their wives. There were occasional dinners, Sunday barbecues, and children's birthday parties. Antonio was always the life of the party, telling jokes and stories from the cities he visited. I felt proud to be by his side, even though I was naturally more quiet and reserved. His family lived in Rio de Janeiro, whom we visited once or twice a year. My family, still in rural Minas Gerais, I saw less frequently. In the letters I wrote to my mother, I painted a picture of a perfect life, omitting the small arguments, the loneliness during his absences, and the challenges of raising 2 children practically alone. After all, I had made my choice, and I felt I needed to prove it was the right one. When Miguel turned 7 and Clara 4, we moved to a larger house in a better neighborhood. Antonio had been promoted to regional sales manager, which meant a better salary but also more responsibilities and even longer trips. He would now be gone for weeks at a time, returning only for a few days. I missed him dearly, but I consoled myself with the thought that it was temporary, that he would soon secure a more stable position. It was around this time in 1972 that I began to notice subtle changes. There were strange phone calls where the caller would hang up when I answered. Antonio seemed more distant, less interested in the children and me. He made more excuses to skip family events. Most curiously, his travels began to follow a peculiar pattern. He seemed to spend at least 1 week every month in the same interior city. Ribera prayed. I tried to dismiss the suspicions forming in my mind, blaming them on my loneliness and the exhaustion of managing everything alone. Antonio was a good husband, a good father, a hard-working man. He would never do anything to hurt our family. At least, that is what I desperately needed to believe. They always say that you can sense when something is wrong in your marriage, don't they? But the truth is, we often choose not to see. That's how it was for me. For a long time, the signs were there, small at first, then increasingly evident, but I preferred to ignore them, to pretend everything was fine. The first concrete suspicion came on a Sunday in 1973. We were tidying up the bedroom, and I found a receipt in the pocket of one of Antonio's suits. It was from a jewelry store in Ribera Prado, dated from the previous week. The amount was substantial, but there was no new jewelry in the house. When I asked him about it, he grew nervous, explaining it was a gift for his secretary who was retiring. The explanation made sense, but something in his tone, the way he avoided my eyes, planted a seed of doubt in my heart. That night, I couldn't sleep, tossing and turning as I thought of other strange behaviors. How he always showered as soon as he returned from a trip, even before hugging the children, how he guarded his work agenda so carefully, or the late-night phone calls he would take in the backyard. The next morning, determined to shake off these thoughts, I plunged into my routine with the children. Miguel was in school and Clara attended kindergarten. I kept myself busy with housework, cooking, helping with homework, and participating in the school's parent-teacher group and church community. It was a simple life, but it gave me satisfaction. In the following months, I tried to ignore my suspicions, convincing myself it was just my own insecurity. But then other signs appeared. An unfamiliar perfume on his shirt, women's names scribbled in his agenda when he forgot to lock it. Phone bills with frequent calls to the same number in Ribera Prado. One night, while Antonio slept, I did something I never imagined I would do. I took his agenda and copied the mysterious number. The next day, after dropping the children at school, I went to a public payphone and dialed. A woman answered. When I asked for Antonio, she replied naturally, "He's traveling. He'll be back on Thursday." "Who, may I ask, is calling?" I hung up without answering, my heart pounding, my hands trembling. And for you who are watching and perhaps going through something similar, remember this: your story does not end with the pain. You have the strength to rewrite it. It was like that for me, and it can be like that for you, too. Thank you for listening to my story today. Don't forget to leave a comment telling me what you thought. A warm hug from this granny who learned that sometimes the unexpected endings are the most beautiful ones. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel for more stories of overcoming adversity. Leave in the comments where you are watching from. A warm hug from this granny who learned that unexpected endings can be the most beautiful. Thank you for watching my story.